All right, and good morning and welcome. I'm Jennifer Britton and your host of today's call. Looking forward to this August 2019 virtual book club call for Coaching Business Builder and also PlanDoTrack. So if this is the first time you've joined these calls, welcome. I have been hosting the virtual book club calls for Coaching Business Builder for the last year. It is a workbook and planner designed for coaches who are growing their own business. Now, if you aren't a coach, please stay because we are talking about a topic that is key to business professionals of all kinds, whether you're a leader, a solopreneur, a remote worker. In fact, the success of Coaching Business Builder led to the release of PlanDoTrack, a related workbook planner, which is geared for virtual and remote professionals. And so if you are in that category, again, of a solopreneur, a virtual worker, definitely, listen into the lens of this, and PlanDoTrack would be a better fit probably for your needs. So under the Coaching Business Builder and PlanDoTrack umbrella, of course, it is all grounded in this notion of daily steps plus consistent action equals momentum. And I have hosted a year of calls under the CBB umbrella, Coaching Business Builder, and for the last 6 months under PlanDoTrack as it was released, or I guess 9 months now as it was released last winter, December of 2018, early 2019. If you like this topic of business development, hope that you'll follow along on Instagram at Coaching Biz Builder, and there you will find daily prompts or regular prompts to get you thinking about it. This summer, I've been doing a number of other sort of fun topics: creative summer projects, the 1% rule to business development, systems check, and 5 core skills for remote and team members. And I do host these throughout the year. So stay tuned for the fall sessions. We have great topics coming up, from meetings through to looking at remote team skills, and into December, some planning as well, including virtual pathways, which is actually the working title of my next book. So with that, I'm taking us back about a decade, and a lot of people aren't familiar. They're familiar with my work as a coach. My first book, published back in 2010, Effective Group Coaching, was the world's first book to be published on the topic of group coaching. And in fact, it grew out of a lot of work that I was doing from about 2004-5 to 2010 in the area of solopreneur coaching groups of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, working as a business faculty member. And what I found really interesting, as I had earmarked this topic today, I just went into my laptop as I'm working remote myself this summer, and I thought, I wonder what I have already created around building my platform. Within that, there's a whole bunch of areas where we might want to be focusing, and that is, of course, building your platform around the notion of who you are, what you take a stand for in your work, and what's really, truly important. So I pulled out a presentation from 2009 where I was taking a group through looking at your own unique platform, looking at 4 key tips for blogging, exploring the range of social media, and also creating an action plan to take your learning forward. So this is almost a 2019 refresh. It is not the same presentation as that 2009 one. That was, in fact, a part of a business brown bag series that I used to host every month. And today's topic, of course, is back in our current technology of Zoom, also done monthly. So just wanted to share that as sort of the circularity of work and how our work can show up in different ways, from live to on demand to written text, etc. So building a platform is all about what's your body of work. And I hope that for sessions like this, if this is a first call that you join me for, grab a pen, grab your journal, grab your laptop, really be thinking about who you are and what's important for you. Today wanted to take us into the landscape of what's your body of work, and what are those things that you want to have as your definer. In building a platform, we can be looking at this through many different lenses, and we can be looking at it through niche. A whole other naming of that, of course, is platform. And if you haven't read the book by Michael Hyatt called Platform. It's really a fantastic read. I like to refer to this really as your body of work, because as our work grows under our own umbrella, chances are that, like this arrow you can see on the screen, it is going to move in fits and starts. So I've been a career professional now for 3 decades. In my own business for the last 15 years and had a very vibrant career before that with the United Nations and with Canadian and British aid organizations as a leader from the age of 26. And as I think about, these last 3 decades of work and all the things that I have seen and done with groups, definitely the work that I started in my late teens has been part of the foundation of where and what you hear and see as I speak and as I read. So I'd like you to take a minute and think about your body of work. Where did you start? Where do you want to go? What are those different parts along the way? And what are you truly passionate about? I think in building a platform, in naming or claiming our niche, in thinking about our body of work, it can take some time to build, but as we look back, we can start seeing some of the pathways. One of the reasons why I found, I think, writing effective group coaching not easy, but of course there was a lot of effort in pulling it together, but the project flowed back in 2009 when I did receive the green light from Wiley to go ahead and write the book for them. And very much it was about pulling together different strands from 2 decades of work. I shouldn't say 2 years, 2 decades of work, 20 years of working within group facilitation, community engagement, and of course, coaching. And in the 10 years since, the piece that I have realized that is truly the differentiator in my world of work is the virtual piece, really supporting remote teams, working remote myself, whether it's been extreme environments in jungles of South America, in northern Canada. It really is about how do we help teams work effectively across distance or in very extreme environments. And in today's context, we don't just have to be part of a team. Many of the people I continue to work with, of course, are solopreneurs. Most likely, you may be a coach joining this call, you might be a solopreneur yourself. And so all of that has come together in my latest 2 books, PlanDoTrack and Coaching Business Builder, where I really see it is truly an extension of the work of the group, the work in virtual. And so that's definitely part of it. So as you move on, you might even want to listen in. If you're listening in, pause this, zoom in to some of the graphics here. I was very intentional in pulling this graphic together because I want you to be thinking about what's your body of work. And in doing that, just take a look. Maybe there are some icons here that really inspire you. Maybe pause for 3 to 5 minutes and really think about, who are you as a business? Who are you as a professional? What helps you stand out and what makes you quite unique in your work? Great questions to think about. Obviously, journaling, also an option. I think against our platform or our body of work, we want to make sure once we're clear on what it is that we are creating, whether for me, it's my work in the area of teamwork, whether it's in the area of group and team coaching or in the virtual space, we want to make sure that we are building it out. We are building a strategy around it with clear goals and objectives. We really think about who do we need to collaborate with. So for me, I have different collaboration partners. There are different advocates of my work. Coach training schools have really embraced the work of and the books that I've written around group and team coaching. They've embraced the books that I've written in effective virtual conversations even. And effective virtual conversations has also taken me back into the landscape of leadership, where I've been doing a lot of leadership work, remote and virtual leadership work with organizations of all kinds, specifically global organizations. And again, this is where I really see my work as an author, my work as a coach practitioner and a program designer is in the area of collaborating with organizations that get this. And what's important for me and what I hope you will think about is what's important for you as a business? Who do you want to be working with? I know very intentionally there were organizations that I said years ago, I wish that I could be working with these types of organizations. And many of them I've been very privileged to be able to support in their own initiatives. Key to this is having that vision. It is also about planning, which you can see in the middle, and it's about acting on it, right? We don't make shifts in business without action. So that's why it's called a plan, do track. Why my book is all about planning. It's about doing, which is the action, and it's about tracking it. And so part of tracking is about checking what's working, checking what's not working, thinking about how we can improve things. Metrics matter in today's business context. And while I don't have a copy of PlanDoTrack or Coaching Business Builder here, one of my favorite tools in the workbook planners are, of course, the whole monthly daily trackers. And with that, we can note down what we've done, what we've implemented, and we can also start noticing patterns. So if you're a business, maybe you notice that for the next 3 days after sending out a newsletter, you've got new registrations coming in, you've got new sales coming in the door, and so that can really help us. Over time, we may not be able to see patterns because we might not yet have enough data. Part of pulling together these workbook planners is that I really wanted to give professionals an opportunity to start seeing the patterns themselves. Now, a big part of this work is also about being in community. And as you think about your platform, who is the community that you're going to serve? You might choose to mark out, 6 different areas, 6 different umbrellas that you are serving in your work. My guess is that some of these relationships are close, some of them are not established, some of them might be an opportunity to grow. So think for yourself, who are the communities you want to serve in building and growing your platform? Who needs to know about what you have to offer, and how can you become a go-to person? And as someone who has really become very well known as one of the go-to global experts on group coaching and team coaching, I would say building community, doing things consistently, adding value consistently in many different ways through relationships is key. We can market ourselves, but when other people become advocates of your work because they're pleased with it, happy with it, then they become advocates and really are not only social proof, as we would say, but really they are the ones who can help spread the word. And part of change isn't about building communities, whether that community is global, local, around issues, or other. One of the things I've enjoyed doing this year is connecting more with folks. And so if you have not joined our Mighty Networks group, it's called the Conversation Sparker Zone, please reach out to me, or if you're on our newsletter list, take a look at where that link is. There are 5 different streams where I post articles, questions, we do polls, people share resources. It really is an alternative to Facebook, and it's a private community where you can join and connect around issues related to planning, business development, group or team coaching, virtual conversations, and also remote leadership. So those are really the 5 main areas that, whether it's been through distinct books or series of programs, they are all different parts of my platform. And I'd love to hear from you. So join us at the Conversation Sparker Zone at Mighty Networks, and hope that you will keep the conversation going. Now, this summer, I've done a number of different presentations. One of the monthly series that you'll want to check out, if you haven't seen it already, is about building your own signature program. So once we've identified our body of work, or maybe a doorway into figuring out what our body of work is actually having a distinct program that can stand on its own. And I have done this for many years. One of my first program, well, I sort of had 3 anchoring programs in the first 3 to 5 years of my business. There was Group Coaching Essentials, which of course grew into Effective Group Coaching. That program, which is an ICF CCE approved program, has run monthly since January 2006. So yes, very road tested. It has led into and fed into other programming, the advanced practicum, the intensives, into, of course, my second book, From One to Many, Best Practices for Team and Group Coaching. And so that started off on request, right? It was a request from coaches who wanted to learn more about group coaching. It was interesting because it was the 3rd in a series of programs that started in that first 3 to 5 years of my business. one of the first programs I launched became known as Your Balanced Life. As you might have heard me say in other ways, it started out with a much lengthier title, and that work reflected my own passion. I started Potentials Realized in 2004. I had spent almost 15 years working globally, where some weeks I literally was working around the clock. I was on call in my world of work in the country office level, on call for almost 8 to 10 years of my life. And that's not an exaggeration. I knew when the phone rang in the middle of the night that I would have to get up and there really was an emergency that I would need to respond to with my team. And so signature programs, they come to us in lots of different ways. The Your Balanced Life series of programming actually grew out of my commitment and my interest of working with leaders so that they would not face not only the burnout, but the physical impact that burnout can have. And as some of you know, I have partial vision in one of my eyes, which really as the doctor said, a simple eye infection for me in my early 30s became a significant impact because my body was so run down. And while I retained the eye, I am not able to see completely out of that eye. It did, retool my whole career. I no longer work globally. As you know, I have a very vibrant virtual business, but that was several years, not just decisions, but reactions to things in terms of like, what was I able to do? And so thinking about signature programs, it allows us through a doorway like Group Coaching Essentials, Your Balanced Life, or the one I wanted to mention, which most of you are here for now, that was the 90-Day Biz Success Program. And as some of you know, I was a part of the work that I focused on as I came back to Canada was as a part-time business faculty member. So I taught things like preparing a business plan, human resource management, economics, marketing studies. And I really loved that. It was great to be an educator. I've always been an educator. I taught at the post-secondary level. What was interesting, though, that I didn't think would be seen as a value was actually my coaching skills. And so many of my first group coaching clients were groups of entrepreneurs and groups of business students. And that really fed into many years of work quarterly with 90-day or 3-month 90-day biz success programming. Saw lots of entrepreneurs run through that program. By 2010, stepped away from that so that others could do it. And we've had quite a few handfuls of people as program licensors of Your Balanced Life and 90-Day Biz Success. But as you heard, PlanDoTrack really came out of these two programs, as has Coaching Business Builder, because we still build. And, with having signature programs, it creates a community. There's lots of different ways that we can be bringing work out. I soon realized that not everyone wanted to do a 90-day program. Some wanted retreats. So I've done lots of years of virtual retreats. Some want to take a program on demand. And I think a lot of it is a pendulum. So we are in an era of online learning. We can use all of these techniques, and it does allow us to expand our reach and scale, as well as keeping it fresh. So these are all benefits, I think, to identifying and further looking at how do you create a platform, and under the platform, how do you have different signature programs. As I've been talking today, I think you're hearing the benefits of platform building. Of course, you become the go-to person. And under that, you become very well known in your niche. If you are giving back, right? Part of this is that you're not just consuming people's resources, but you're actually creating a learning field. And it does provide, I think, as for example, the whole body of work that I've done around group coaching. I'm not only the go-to person, but I want to provide a variety of ways and price points for people to get involved and get engaged so that they can focus in those different ways. We do want to make sure that we are clear and others are clear on who we are. And I can't tell you how many times I receive emails from people who say, oh, I read your book, or I've been referred to you by so-and-so who says you're the go-to person around group and team coaching, or others. So with the platform, it does allow us to be that go-to person, have clarity on what we offer, focus our offerings, and hopefully focus it through a series of offerings as well. Now, in platforms and signature programs, I've shared a few examples here, but I think they really become your signature programs and platforms when they're about things that you're passionate about and you're able to communicate that passion. Part of why I love coaching is because it's the missing link. For me, I was a trainer, a facilitator for many years. I'd run retreats around the world, and when I called people 3 months after, they'd say, "Oh, Jen, that was great, but we're so busy." And that to me was not enough. I needed more tools. And so when I finally started hearing about coaching in the early 2000s, it was like, oh, this has to be, or probably could be, a missing link. I still wasn't sure. I had to experiment about that. And so very much it, was something that I wanted to see. How could we bring coaching post-retreats, post-headquarter retreats? How could that conversation start looking and helping people look at what they'd talked about in the room months prior with their team? Of course, most of the teams I worked with in those days were virtual, and hence my whole body of work around virtual conversations and effective virtual conversations. I'm passionate about it on many levels. I led a team. I led teams globally. My last 3 years with the UN were spent leading a sub-regional team. I was responsible for programming in 10 countries. One of the reasons why I got so sick was because I was constantly traveling. And so I'm passionate about looking at how do we leverage technology so that we don't have to travel. And I've been very fortunate in the last few years to really be able to carve out space and place to work remote on my own choice, but to continue working. We are now moving into hour 7 or 6 of the day, 6.5. I started this morning at 6 a.m. So think about that, right, as part of your platforms. We also want to think about the right delivery method. And yes, I'm passionate about working with virtual remote teams, and it does work to work remote, right? Because they are also in their own isolated bubbles in different parts of the world. And that's been informed, of course, by what our clients want. So, there is a very interesting fusion or nexus place where we want to fuse what we're passionate about with what our clients want. And that's going to help us create sort of like things at different points, where I've used like this stacking, right? I sort of look at this as almost like a barrel, or you could think of the funnel, but like there are different ways that people will come in. And so we do want to have different offerings. As I shared a few months ago, lots of different vehicles for coaches today, from one-on-one to maybe offering books or ebooks. You might offer intensive groups that could be in person, or it could be intensive over several weeks. One of the programs I've enjoyed running in this last couple of months from here up north has been the Facilitator training program. So I now offer a 24-hour, 24 CCE program, which is known as the PlanDoTrack Facilitator Training or the Coaching Business Builder Facilitator Training. So maybe you've been enjoying your work with this and can see that you'd love to take this out with your own groups. You now have a window and an opportunity to train directly with me. This summer we did it in 3 weeks of intensive sessions. That was 6 3-hour blocks with some additional blended learning assignments. And what I think people really loved about it was the fact that we could go deeply into these bodies of work of PlanDoTrack and Coaching Business Builder. That 6 3-hour session is coming back again at the end of the year, so you'll be able to roll it out in January, should you want, with your groups. Or I'll also be chunking it down into a little bit more bite-sized programming this fall. So definitely check that out, Facilitator training for PlanDoTrack, and probably the easiest way is to check out PlanDoTrack.com and look for Facilitator training button there. Now, I've talked a lot about group coaching programs and the way, that's what I'm known for, but a lot of those group coaching programs actually stemmed out of retreats. And as I've said even today, I think a lot of this is like, what are the vehicles that are going to work best for our clients? Do they like the deep dive in retreats, which might have a great wow factor, but might not be the sustained factor? To me, this is where group coaching is a sustained focus over time. Or maybe people just want to lightly touch it, and that's where on-demand video-based programs come in. So I'd like to leave you with some questions today. And the first one being, what's your strategy? As you think about building your platform, your brand, what is your strategy? What are the themes you want to be working around? And again, I'll invite you to stop this recording for maybe 30 seconds to think about the themes you want to work around. Another question, what are the elements you want to create? And maybe there are a few things. Again, you've got lots of Post-its there, but like, what are the elements? Is it on-demand programming? Is it an ebook? Is it a book that translates to a short program that people can take intensively, or a short program that's spread out over the course of your year? What are the elements you want to create in your platform? Who is the community that you want to serve? And like this is like, what is a conversation you want to start? In building a platform, there's probably something very provocative that you want to put out into the world, or it is something that we want to provoke others to have discussion around. So think about, again, your clients. What are they looking for? What will they find interesting? What is the brand? And this is where I am linking back to some of those pieces that I talked about 10 years ago now. It's really hard to believe that it's been 10 years. And in brand platforms, so again, in the business context, we call it a brand platform. And that includes your vision of your brand, the vision of the brand, the mission, the values which underpin it, the personality, and the tone of voice. And in the brand platform, you'll want to think about everything from color to imagery to what does it take a stand for? And is it a formal brand? Is it an informal brand? Is it something that is invitational, or is it something that is very structured? Branding in and of itself is a whole area. And I think in 2020, we'll do a series around brand. It's an area we explore in the Coaching Business Growth Lab. That, of course, is a Friday group that meets every other Friday throughout the year. And we've been doing a lot of talk about what is the brand this summer. Now, part of where my work is going, this is the crew of the Virtual Remote Pathways. And this summer, I was involved in a writing fundraiser up here in Muskoka. And this will probably be my next published book. So you're sort of like, get a sneak peek into it. So it was not an intended book, but as I've been rolling out PlanDoTrack, talking about effective virtual conversations, a lot of organizations are really intrigued, as are business owners. And so the Virtual Remote Pathways book follows the adventures of 9 different types of virtual and remote professionals. And so you will meet them in the Virtual Remote Pathways. You'll meet Joe and Jane, who you've already seen in Effective Virtual Conversations, and you'll meet the other players. This is, of course, work that is already out in the public domain, so stay tuned. It is copyrighted to me, and it is known as the crew of the Virtual and Remote Pathways and my little avatars. So what is the work and the steps you want to take on a regular basis? Can't say enough about this notion of how important it is in building a platform, in building a brand, that we undertake these daily steps consistently, which will create momentum. It's much harder to start the process than it is to get into daily practice. And I think right now we are moving into a phase, into a time of year, September, where for many we're getting back to school, back to work. If we're parents, our children are starting a new grade, or maybe for me, it's like my son is going to high school. So what are the things you want to do on a regular basis? When are you going to build those in? What time of day do you want to be building them in? These are all great questions to be thinking about. And as I just said, we also want to think about that branding. So look at these doors. I love this photograph. If you think about your work right now, what is the brand theme or colors you want to be breathing life into in your work? Is it the canary yellow? Is it the green? Is it the aqua blue or the cyan blue? Maybe it's the black, the red. Again, what are the colors and the theme that surrounds your brand? There are, of course, maybe some brand metaphors. So list those out. Think about what comes to mind around your brand. I'm going to be doing a follow-on to this call on platform, and I think I'll do a live open call, and we'll actually work through these questions real time. So stay tuned. I know I've been saying throughout today's call you can pause, but stay tuned as I'll do a live series. Ultimately, we want to capture our learning. And so whether you use a bullet journal, up there you can see one of my bullet journals, or maybe you use a prompting journal. One thing that I also have committed to doing this year, as I've rolled out PlanDoTrack and Coaching Business Builder, is a series of weekly journaling prompts. They're actually posted over at the team's 365 blog. a blog that I've hosted since 2014. And I pulled together these Saturday posts into a volume of weekly journaling prompts ebook. So stay tuned for those. They are actually live. You can purchase and download a copy of the ebook. What's nice about it is it has 12 weeks. So that is a quarter. You could pick up your volume 1 for the third quarter of the year. And every quarter I release a new edition. And so these are just short things that I've written about with a quote. And as you can see there, some space for you to write down. Ultimately, in your platform, what's your story? It is all about creating a platform for you to share your story, in terms of having impact with others. So with your story in mind, what is the content you can create on a consistent basis? Is it going to be videos? Is it going to be illustrations? Is it going to be a group story, etc.? Ultimately, also think about what questions people have for you. Maybe that will lead to some frequently asked questions, blog posts, article topics. I'm sure there's a great quote out there, but in business, we want to be listening very carefully, very closely for the people we work with, and those will become the seeds of programming. So I always think about developing and launching new programs. Probably one of the things that people appreciate the most are the FAQs. And you can, of course, download the most recent FAQ for the PlanDoTrack Facilitator. So go on over to PlanDoTrack.com, and in the upper head bar, you'll see Facilitator PDT. I think it's actually called the Facilitator PDT link page. Building a brand takes time. Building a platform takes years. So think about who can support you with this, who can support you directly by holding the space for accountability, who can also help you spread the word. So we need advocates, we need supporters, we need allies of all kinds. We also need the space and place to get things done. And one of the programs I run right now, the Learning Lab and Design Studio, one of the things that people at the lab really love are our quarterly get it done days. It's 4 hours of just coming and bringing your work with you and doing things on a regular basis. What I love about it is it also helps me get things done. So think about who can support you and who also can help you directly and by spreading the word. Well, we've taken a very interesting look today at platform. Underpinning this, of course, though, is the notion of consistent action plus daily steps plus focused attention equals momentum. These are the foundations of Coaching Business Builder and PlanDoTrack. Hope that you've enjoyed this. Maybe join me this fall for some one-on-one coaching. I also take a deep dive through VIP days where you can focus on your business. I do 4-hour virtual retreats using PlanDoTrack where you can start the day breathing life into a vision and wrap that up. Or if you like the longer term view, we're starting to plan for fall and 2020 programming with the Coaching Biz Growth Lab. If you want to take your impact further, of course, we now have PlanDoTrack facilitators and Coaching Business Builder facilitators, because my vision for this body of my work is to bring it out to 20,000 coaches and 20,000 virtual remote professionals. And I can't do that alone, hence the facilitator training program. So you have tools and can be taking your impact further, your business further. Join me this fall, add it to your toolkit. Dates will be available soon, but I'll be doing a 6x3-hour virtual sessions in late November, early December. Or you can jump into a sort of probably an 8 to 10 week session, which will run late September, early October into November. It's been a pleasure, and as always, I hope that you've taken some value out of this. I'm earmarking this presentation today as one to do as a sprint, so stay tuned. That will come this fall when we're all back to work. I'll be bringing together those questions to help you build your platform. And with that, have a great week, everyone. Jennifer Britton signing off, and I'll see you after Labor Day for our next call. Just posted those dates over at PlanDoTrack.com. You can download our fall call dates as well as CoachingBusinessBuilder.com. All right, take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.